Hello, another podcast episode. And oh my gosh. You know, I really don't want to talk about this. Really, really don't want to talk about this because, I've talked about lazy writing. I've talked about how yeah, Hollywood going down in flames. And in all of that, I've talked about as much as I didn't want to. I've talked about Leslie Headland and The Acolyte. And I thought, okay, I'm done. I can move on. She's back. She went into hiding and she's back. And usually I would just move on. It would be like, okay, we're done. We can move on. But it's what she said that is just so ridiculous. And I'm done with it. I'm just so done with this delusional 45-year-old woman who acts like an angsty teenager and is mad because the rest of the world rejected her personal therapy session. It's like, lady, what you should have done is just gone to therapy and made it a private session. But instead, what you did is you wrote fan fiction and blasted it all over creation and expected us to hold your hand and say, "Oh, it's okay." No, we we have our own problems. Okay? Why the hell should we stop our lives for Leslie fucking Headland? That's not how it works. I am so sick of because I've recently started watching Kino Casino. I absolutely love them. They are hilarious. They are so much fun. And especially during Halloween, I enjoy seeing them just having fun because they dress up in costumes and all of that. They are a breath of fresh air. And I like that they call out delusional middle-aged people here on YouTube. Like I'm sorry, but me being middle-aged, yes, I play video games and everything else, but I still have a job. There are still things that I have to do as a middle-aged person. And I'm sorry. I understand that I don't have kids or anything, but there are people who are middle-aged that have children and they just decide to sit and play video games all day and they don't care. I I'm tired of it. And I understand that I'm going on a tangent here, but it's like for Leslie Headland to decide that our lives have to center around embracing her because she decided to write a fan fiction story about her having this terrible life. No. And now she's mad because she is still talking about it. We want to move on. This is like Ghostbusters 2016. They are raging to high heaven because we rejected their product. Let it go. All right. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So this may be all over the place and quite the intro. I understand. All right. So she comes back and she first off says that in her interview that the acolyte critics are racist and fascist for canceling her show. Okay, let's start there. Do you not understand how the cancellation works? Okay, you put a show on TV and it's the ratings that cancel it. All right? The critics have nothing to do with it. The critics could say that your show be it a show, be it a movie, whatever. And it, I'm sorry, it's the ratings. It, it's uh, bots don't go, bots don't watch TV, okay? And there were a lot of bots that were trying to amp up this show. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm on to you. It's the same thing with the movies. Look, when I was a kid, it was Siskel and Ebert. Okay, Siskel died when I was in high school. And then it was Ebert and Roper and, that whole thing. I think more people remember Ebert and Roper. Okay, so you have these movie critics and they go around and they talk about these movies. And a lot of people are now saying that I'll see it for myself because I can remember as a kid, there were movies that Siskel and Ebert said were absolute garbage, and it turned out that they were really good, or vice versa. This movie is absolute. I mean, this movie is the best thing ever, and it turned out it was terrible. Okay, uh, yeah, it turns out to be this. These movies that do really bad in the box office, and you look at it again, and it's like, I mean, people are looking at Flintstones now. You think about some of the movies that are getting a second chance. Okay, so Flintstones is one of them, and they're looking at it. John Goodman was perfect for this. Yes, they're looking at this Flintstones movie, and for some reason, somewhere along the line, somebody said that this was an awful movie. I don't know for the life of me why this movie was said to be trash. Okay, and but that's a perfect example. Okay, now in the early 90s. That transition from 80s, that crazy decade that we had, into the 90s, there were a lot of weird TV shows that didn't even last a full season. There was one I remember that was a lot like, oh, what is that movie? Enchanted. I'm not even kidding. It was um it was like this fairy tale family that would live next door to a modern day family. And they would act like a fairy tale, a king, queen, prince, princess. And it was so goofy back then that people were just turned off by it. And I think it only lasted 5 episodes. Okay. It tanked. It was the ratings. People weren't watching. But here's Leslie Headland. She's talking like it was the critics. No, people have opinions. They can make the decision to not watch it. Okay. In the case of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, okay, so with the Young Indiana, and this also happened with Peggy Carter, okay? So um as when people were talking I had a lot of friends who were um watching the Peggy Carter series, the Marvel show. Um Now with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, uh there was a transitional point where the writers it was something was going on. The writing was just bad. Like I think I've talked about it here on the channel where there was one where um Indiana Jones ended up going to this ca it was like he went to this castle that was like Dracula's castle and everything, and even um the CGI work was bad. And that was a point where it probably should have ended right there because it was just terrible. And but so the writing was starting to deteriorate on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Okay. And it was because of the writers. So when I was talking to some friends when they were talking about the Carter series when it dropped and the ranking and the ratings were going down, um, it was the same thing. So when you have something like this happen where the writing is going down and everything, yeah, people check out. When George Lucas changed the writers, I think this is when he brought Carrie Fisher in to fix it. Okay, so Carrie Fisher fixed it and everything, and the new season started up, and he got a second chance. Well, in the case of Carter, people had just checked out so much that they couldn't bring in another season. Okay. Um, but yeah, it's ratings. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not the critics. If you don't have it, but for some reason Leslye has it in her head that it's the critics. Now, I also want to go down this path. Let's do a little history lesson here. Okay. So last year, before the show aired, she and Kathleen Kennedy, they went on this press tour and everything. They were promoting The Acolyte, and they said, "You're a racist and a bigot if you don't like this show. Just remember, you're a racist and a bigot if you don't like this show." The show aired, it started. The main actress went around, the main actress and Leslye went on to keep pushing that the fans are racist and bigot if they don't like this show. I mean, they were basically threatening and making it clear that if you don't like this show, you're a racist. Let me let me make something clear. Okay. Now, when I was a teenager in the 90s, because for some reason there's like this weird idea that everybody loved Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's not true. Yeah, it was popular, okay, but not everybody liked it. And especially after the first actress who played Aunt Viv left, there were a lot of people who checked out. I mean, that first actor, I don't remember her name, but when she was gone, when she left, there were a lot of people who didn't come back to the show. And but that doesn't make you a racist. No. There may be a lot of things that people just don't like about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. There are people who loved I mean, that didn't like Fresh Prince, but they loved Family Matters. I liked both, honestly. And after a while with Family Matters, I got tired of it. Yeah, it lost its yeah, I really did. I really just it got too goofy for me. But I you know, I'm not sure where this is coming from anymore. There were people that loved James Avery. There were people who loved Will Smith. There were people who loved Alfonso Ribeiro, but there could be something about that show. Maybe it was the Carlton dance, I don't know, but there was just something that they just did not like. Okay. Same thing with Family Matters or what have you. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. But to sit there and say that when somebody says, "Well, I don't like the show," And you sit there and you say, "Well, you're a racist." No, that's not how racism works. That is that is not how it works at all. Okay, having a personal opinion like that, just no, not at all. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Oh, yeah. But here she is. She's going around and she's telling people that they're racist, and that's how it is. No, that's no, no. Okay. Guess I'm a racist. All right. And I really wanted to point this out because she and the cast, most of the cast, not all the cast, but most of the cast were basically saying through the whole time that it was being and even that lead actress was doing her dumb Discord dance and everything, that little rap and all this, and basically saying that the fans were racist and and attacking the fans, calling them racist, just screaming the word over and over and over, racist, bigot, all that stuff, and drenching the show in racist, in the word racist and all of this. So she was blaming the fans. It was the fans. Now, I also want to point out that after it was canceled, she was still trying to push, she and Kathleen Kennedy were still trying to push that there was going to be a second season. But she even admitted that she did, I mean, she was trying to use funny wordplay, but it was obvious that she hadn't written anything. It was a lie. Okay, Leslye Headland is a big fat liar pants. Okay. She didn't have anything, but she wanted to make Acolyte seem like hot shit. Okay. She had put all the eggs in this basket and it failed. And now what? Well, if she said that there was going to be a season two, okay, let's go with that. But she didn't have that. And okay, now, of course, the cast came out every once in a while and would scream about it and all that and wouldn't let it go. And okay, can I just point out that there were two times, okay, that her wife uh pointed out. First, her wife said that the the Disney company did nothing to protect them from the angry mob of fans. And I went back and I looked at that, and her wife lied. Her wife, her wife talked about this incident, and it was just what the Raylos did to Adam Driver. She had talked about the incident that the Raylos had done to Adam Driver, but she was talking like it had happened to her and Leslye Headland. So she full blown lied. Okay, nothing happened to her and Leslye Headland, but she was talking like, how's Disney Corporation supposed to help them? Yeah, Disney did nothing to help the actors when the uh people come after it. And it's like that never happened. It never happened because you're taking an instance that actually did happen. It's documented, and you're trying to say that it happened to you. And that's disgusting. Okay. Because what happened to Adam Driver was terrifying. What happened to Adam Driver and his family was absolutely terrifying. And now you're trying to say that you suffered. And that didn't happen because nobody cares. Okay. Nobody fucking cares about the acolyte. Nobody cared enough to actually freak out and do that. Okay. No, nobody did that. No, nobody did that. So she tried to kick up drama and say that these crazy fans came after her and Leslye, and it didn't happen. Okay. So that's shitty behavior number one. And and that that's one time I will side with Disney Corporation because how is Disney Corporation supposed to protect from something that didn't happen? Okay? And shame on the wife for but I guess she gets it from Leslye. But and how old is the wife? So you got two middle-aged women who are acting like angsty teenagers, lying about I can't tolerate that. Again, when you're lying about being harmed by people and it never happened, I can't stand that. I was watching I think it's Bose versus the world and these people who will lie about being kidnapped and all that shit. I can't believe this kind of crap still happens. Grow up. These attention-seeking bullshitters. And now you have somebody who's saying that have oh my gosh. Well, then there was a second time, and the wife comes out and she just screeches, just banshee screeches at the fans, and it's screaming that it's their fault, and calling them racist and all this stuff, and like, okay, we're trying to move on, and apparently you can't. Yeah, it's like angry woman yelling at clouds. What do you want? Oh my gosh. So understand that they were they were threatening that the fans were the racists, okay? And even the cast said you're racist. You don't like this, you're racist. And okay, so now in 2025, Leslye Headland is saying because she can't let this go. She's saying that the critics are racist. But now she's learned a new word. It's fascist now. Okay. It's not bigots, it's fascist. But she's also using other things too. Um, so I'm gonna go through this. This again, she's my age, and I'm glad that there are people on YouTube that shuts down middle-aged people because they do need to be shut down. Again, I like to play video games. I've talked about nostalgia here. I show the stuff that I grew up with and all that stuff. But at the same time, on the other side, I don't mind being called out. I have had my followers. Well, I don't like calling them that, but the people that I talk to here on my channel, they call me out on stuff, and I'm fine with that. You know? I don't have a problem with that. But I just it, oh my gosh. Act your age. Okay. So she says this. It says, I have thoughts, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but she does. And I'll stick to the personal rather than professional. Now, I do have to say this, okay? When you have something that you make. All right. And it does get rejected. It does hurt. Okay, I understand that. All right. It hurts. All right. And especially with how this has been rejected as hard as it has. Okay. But the way that she's acting, the way that the actors, most of the actors, okay, I want to make that clear because not all the actors deserve the to be slammed. Okay. It's the ones that were acting out and saying the nasty things that they were saying. But it's it's the actions. Okay. When you throw a tantrum, expect it. Okay. That's just the way of it. Now, it says here, however, I am a Star Wars fan, which means I have always been since the launch of YouTube, part of the Star Wars recap, criticism, liaison fandom community. Okay, so are you saying that you've been a Star Wars fan since YouTube started? Because that's 2005. And now I have been since the 90s. Now, again, she's as old as I am. All right. And a couple years older, that kind of thing. And now I'm not going to try to be in her shoes or anything because I really don't want to be, but this is the thing is, of course there was um the 90s box set release in Target for the VHS. That was a big deal. Okay. There was also um when Star Wars was released and now all of a sudden she's trying to act like this was she she's always been a fan. She bullshits, okay? I've talked about this before. She bullshits. She's got a platform right now. She she thinks that this is, but I'm going to tell you right now, I actually went on Twitter and this tidal wave of fans that she thinks that she has, she doesn't have anymore. Okay? These people um that defended her before are not there anymore because they see past it. She and Kathleen Kennedy lied about the financial side of Acolyte, and they see her for what she is. Um, that one person who will shill for everything even said, I can't do it anymore. Okay. She's been called out. She and her wife have screwed themselves into oblivion. Okay. when, when your play is what Andrew Lloyd Webber did in the 70s. Okay, cool. You're mocking Christianity. Guess what? Andrew Lloyd Webber did that. Awesome. Wow. So original, Leslye. Awesome. And I think that's the funny part is she, okay, so that there's that whole controversy with Cynthia Erivo and um playing Jesus and then Leslie Headland puts out her play. Fuck out of here with that, man. But I also saw where she told people she was promoting something. This was a while ago, and long before she was working for Star Wars. I mean for Lucasfilm, and she told people that what saved her life was Fight Club. But now all of a sudden, I don't think she's ever seen Fight Club. Okay. I have Fight Club. I've watched Fight Club several times. I've seen Jared Leto get his ass beat. Okay. Again, she's a bullshitter. Now she has this big flat platform and she has been talking to, talking her way, bullshitting her way. And she said that Star Wars saved her life. Really? Did it? How? How? Um, and one of the people that covered this said if it saved your life, you wouldn't try to fix it. Because that's what she did. She tried to retcon the living shit out of it. She tried to change characters. She tried to remove characters. She tried to change the lore up, down, and out. And but yeah, it saved your life. Okay. But it did. It saved your life. Uh-huh. And that's the thing. Again, she says that she has been a Star Wars fan since the launch of YouTube. That was in 2005. Okay, that was when uh Revenge of the Sith happened. Now, I was there 3,000 years ago. I was there. And I can remember over on MySpace and social media and all that, there were a bunch of blogs and all this stuff, and people were talking and waiting and this and that, and people and yeah, there were discussions right and left talking about the prequels. Okay? And she's talking like that never happened. She, where is this coming from? And especially there was that big discussion about midichlorians. That's when people really turned on him, on George Lucas. I just recently saw um a clip of Ozzy Osbourne, may he rest in peace, where he saw Phantom Menace and it was like Ozzy is talking about how, well, this is supposed to be before the original and but everything looks all brand new. And, and he had a point. That was something that the rest of us thought, my friends and I, when we came out, and Ozzy made a point. Yeah, may he rest in peace. And but she's talking like 2005 was when she started being a fan. She's all over the place with her whole concept of being a fan of something. She doesn't understand it because, again, she lies. She she lies about everything, and she's convenient. It's a convenience to her. Okay? What she wrote was fan fiction. What she should have done is gone into therapy. These guys I've known for years and years. Who? What are you talking about? So when I get the information from others about what the weather report was, yeah, she's okay. So first she says that she's not on the internet, but now she has her what? So people who are on the internet are reporting back to her. Okay, I don't believe this. I don't believe that she's not on the internet at all. I really don't believe that because of how much she screamed about people being racist and bigots. Yeah. She's trying to act like, well, I don't have the internet. I don't know what that is. What's internet? I'm just a little old pioneer woman. So when I get information from others about what it is, I was like, I know who these guys are. So she's talking about the critics. I was also like, I know who these guys are. Well, how? If you don't have the internet, see, she contradicts herself. She completely contradicts. If you don't know, I mean, if you don't have the internet, how do you know who these people are? How do you know who Nerdrotic is? How do you know who Critical Drinker is? How do you know who Geeks and Gamers? How do you know? Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of these critics going around and talking about all of this. You don't have to tell me who's talking about it or how bad it is online. I'm going to tell you this right now. There are critics who aren't even on online who said that it sucked. Okay. Um, there are some of them that I respect, and there are some of them that I think are absolutely snake oil salesmen, just opportunists. Okay, Leslye, you need to pull your head out of your fucking ass. Okay? Because she's talking like the concept of critic was introduced last year simply to harass and bully her and just ruin her and destroy her little project. Okay, just destroy the acolyte. No, okay, the concept of critic has been around since ancient times. Okay, those Greek playwrights, they had to deal with it. All those ancient playwrights, they dealt with it. Okay, some of them were stoned to death because critics said, well, this sucks. You got off easy. Okay. Shakespeare, his critic was Queen Elizabeth I. And what's funny to me about this is that a lot of his plays, I know a lot of people seem to, I'm so tired of this. Okay, so yes, William Shakespeare did write his plays. It's been debunked several times over that he did write his plays. Okay, it's just like the people who try to say that Edgar Allan Poe didn't write his plays. And yes, that has circulated. Okay, William Shakespeare wrote the plays and he targeted the royal family. Okay, he specifically targeted the royal family. It was a political propaganda. Like, holy shit. You're why would you um yeah, like that has never happened before. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's also people who want to say that Homer never existed. And he did. The last thing I saw was that basically Homer didn't exist. It was a group of playwrights who used the name. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But if he didn't exist, how did he inspire Aristotle and a lot of others who clearly talked about one man? But sure, Jan. Okay, sure. But I mean, good God. She actually thinks that she is the only person who has ever had to deal with criticism. This is fucking pathetic. Yeah, in ancient times, if the emperor, I mean, oh my gosh. So I think it was Emperor Nero. Yeah, it had to be Emperor Nero. So Emperor Nero, he was all about the arts. Yeah, it was Nero because Caligula was the one that went after Poseidon and had his uh soldiers stab the wall. I need to do those videos. But with Nero, he was all about the arts. And he actually would have these long plays and people had to stay there. There were women who actually gave birth in the Colosseum because he made people stay there and he expected them to give good reviews. That's basically what she's doing right now. She's holding people hostage like Emperor Nero. She's like, because her and the guy who I think it's James Gunn or whoever, with Ghostbusters 2016 and The Flash, it's like because you didn't give me a good review, you're racist. Well, do I really need to say what happened to Nero? The guards got tired of it and offed him. And we're like, fuck off. We're tired of you living in this fairyland. We're done. And he was murdered in the Colosseum. Okay. People checked out of your stupid fan fiction. You got it off easy. All right. Like I don't know how it is that she is so damn brain dead that she seems that, first of all, she's talking like she's the first one to ever get critics are coming after me like big meanie heads. Girl, you got it. Critical drinker coming after you is nothing compared to what Nero got. Okay. He got harsh criticism. He got an axe to the face. Okay. But not only that, look, I have read criticism from the Victorian and Edwardian. When I'm reading those old newspapers, and the Victorians and Edwardians were even savage, absolute savage. Let me give you an idea, okay? Because their criticism makes Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic and Ryan Kinnell and them look like absolute sweethearts. I'm not even joking. So, okay, a perfect example would be when Peter Pan went on stage. Okay. Now, J.M. Barrie, who is the creator of Peter Pan, he actually didn't want a woman to play, because we all know that a woman on the stage production plays Peter Pan. And I know a lot of people are like, why the hell is that? Well, the reason why is because with the stage production, um, the harnesses that lift, they didn't think that a boy would work. A woman would work better. And so that was the reason. And so with the harnesses and the ropes and everything, uh, they decided on a woman. Well, J.M. Barrie even was like, no, I would really like for a boy to play Peter because Peter. It should be Peter Pan. Well, Maud Adams played Peter Pan. Okay. So um even with J.M. Barrie protesting and all of this, well, Maud Adams was the first woman to play Peter Pan. And well, the play was a success. Everybody liked Maud Adams except for the critics. Okay, the critics went after her, and it was not for her performance. They said that she was fat. They made fun of her hair. They made fun of everything. I mean, anything and everything to the point that J.M. Barrie stepped in and defended her and basically told the critics to fuck off. He didn't use that language, but basically told them to stop it. And in the end, Maud Adams and J.M. Barrie were good friends until he died. He helped her acting career and everything else as much as he could. But yeah, I mean, the Victorian and Edwardian um, critics would go after the actors in every way, shape, and form. They would go after the musicians. They would go after anything. They didn't care. it's, it's like just stick with telling us if the show was good or not. No, they just and if they had a personal vendetta against somebody. So, for instance, if somebody had a problem with J.M. Barrie, they would have tried to destroy Peter Pan. But Peter Pan was an absolute success. So that's what I mean. I have seen some pretty savage, absolute destructive um critics from the Victorian and Edwardian, and it makes uh Critical Drinker and Ryan Kindle and those guys look like angels. So when Leslye is saying this kind of they're snake oil salesmen and all this shit, no, you didn't get a literal axe to the face like Nero did. Okay, again, the concept of look, I get criticism on my channel. Okay, I really do. I do. I don't know what to tell you. This attitude is so childish, it's ridiculous. Yes, your show was rejected. But quite honestly, what you did is you wrote fan fiction and did a full therapy session on how you're having problems with your family. Nobody cares. Okay? Now look, there are people who pull out of Christian families and they do. The gal from Paramore, she just released an album, and from what I understand, she's trashing Christianity. Yeah, people do that. Okay. It's called relief. Look, Green Day is known for being political, and a lot of times they trash Christianity. People know this. Okay. Just get over it. I don't the play itself, I can say what I want about it because whatever. It does seem funny that she's trying to I do see it as Jesus Christ Superstar 2.0 simply because of the timing of the thing more than anything else. But the rest of this whole thing, you know, calling critics racist and fascist simply because your show was rejected and thinking that the critics had anything to do with it being canceled. No. First of all, Lucasfilm and Disney are known for buying bots. Okay? And bots don't watch shows. That's your problem. All of the praise that you got, more praise than anything else. If you were to actually do the math, it was more bots than anything else. But I can tell you this, the people that I knew over here that watched it, they checked out by the fourth episode. They were hanging by a thread and they finally checked out. They just couldn't stand it anymore. They were done. They tried and they couldn't do it anymore. Okay? And they don't watch any of those critique shows or the critic shows because they want to think on their own. They don't need someone telling them that this thing sucks. They want to try yeah, they want to figure it out on their own. Okay? But even at that, when it comes to critics, basically what they say, even with Siskel and Ebert or Ebert and Roper and those, I mean, basically what they're saying is this is how we feel about it, and that's that. And that's what those guys do. That's what Nerdrotic and all of them do. Okay? They're like, yeah, we saw it and we feel like it sucks. I have watched several of them, and when they talk about it, they say that it's terrible or it's good, and it's because of their personal feelings on it. They're not telling you to hate it. They have never done that. Okay? When I talk about the silent films over here, I have had people come after me because they're like, this isn't a criticism. And I have to agree because a lot of them are for silent films that are long forgotten. And I'm just letting you know, here it is, go and watch it. Okay? They're not wrong. Can't be mad about that. But I try to give an honest criticism on if I like it or if I don't. Okay? And I even say in several of mine, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that you won't. Okay? It's I mean, but here she is, she seems to think that critics have the final word, that they're brainwashing, and that's not what it is. But calling them a snake oil salesman, they're not selling anything. You have sold the product. And when you first But before you even put out the product, you said that the fans were racist. Now you're trying to say that the critics are the racist. See, you're flip-flopping all over the place. And I also remember as the show was going, they first said that it was for women, but then they were blaming men for the ratings tanking. And then they turned around and blamed women for the fact that the ratings were tanking. So they continue to flip-flop. So are you blaming the racist women or the racist men or what's going on? And then they threw sexist in there for a while. I don't, yeah, you're all over the place with your bullshit, Leslye. You just, but oh my gosh. And no, I just, oh, so in closing, before I go any further on this, so in closing, she's still trying to play the victim. Okay. Now, look, as an artist and as somebody who creates, I get it. Okay. You create something, it's rejected, it hurts. But you have to accept the criticism. If you're going to be in the entertainment industry, not everything you put out is going to be just embraced and loved. Okay. You did not put out the Statue of David. Okay. No, not by a long shot. Not even close. All right. No, but here she is. She's acting like she put out the the statue of David, and for some reason, uh, oh my gosh, no. The reason that it was rejected, the reason that the Acolyte was rejected is because of the ratings. It has nothing to do with the critics. It has nothing to do with anything else. It was the ratings. People checked out. The thing is shit. Okay? Your writing sucks. You're not a writer, obviously. You have a problem with your family and you need to go to therapy for that. Us coming to you and patting you on the head and saying they're there, no, I have my own problems, okay? Everybody has their own problems, but they don't write fan fiction and try to get it on TV. Can you imagine? For fuck's sake. Yeah, I had problems when I was a teenager, but I don't want to blast it all over the place. Bloody damn. Now look, as for her uh projecting about the whole Christianity thing, everybody does that. You know, we have Jesus Christ Superstar, we have several musicians doing all that. I don't care, quite honestly. And I could make fun of her for being for that Jesus Christ Superstar 2.0. I don't care. Okay, I think it's just the timing of the thing is the reason why I say that. But Leslye, you need to grow up. You're 45 years old, you're middle aged, and you're still whining and crying. You are in the same category as the guy who won't stop talking about, and I think it's the same guy. I check out, I don't care, but it's the same guy who won't stop talking about Ghostbusters 2016 and The Flash. These are constantly shoved in our face and saying, why won't you like it? Because they suck. Okay? They bombed because nobody cares. Okay? Look, if you like them, great. That's wonderful. Wonderful for you. But at the end of the day, the show got canceled, the movies bombed, and the creators just have to accept it and move on. Maybe make something new, okay? Instead of constantly doing this. Anyway, I'll close up here.